Joe Flacco looks defeated. Tony Grossi urges Kevin Stefanski to consider Jaxson Dart type change as Browns QB woes continue. The Cleveland Browns entered Week 4 with cautious optimism, hoping that veteran quarterback Joe Flacco could stabilize their offense against the Detroit Lions. Instead, the matchup unraveled into one of the ugliest performances of the young season, leaving analysts, fans, and even former players calling for drastic changes. Among the loudest voices was longtime NFL insider Tony Grossi, who suggested that head coach Kevin Stefanski should look to the future and embrace a Jaxson Dart type change. Grossi's comments came in the aftermath of Cleveland's 34-17 defeat at the hands of Detroit, a game that exposed glaring weaknesses at the quarterback position. While the Browns' defense held firm at times, Flacco's inability to move the ball consistently and his costly turnovers gave the Lions every opportunity to seize control. Grossi, who has covered the franchise for decades, summarized the mood of Cleveland's fan base with a simple but cutting observation: Joe Flacco looks defeated. Flacco's struggles mount. The numbers told a painful story. Flacco completed just 16 of 34 passes for 184 yards, throwing 2 interceptions and losing a fumble. His quarterback rating plummeted to 39.3, far below league averages, and the turnovers directly fueled Detroit's victory. The Lions converted those mistakes into 17 points, effectively burying the Browns before they could mount a response. For a franchise that has invested heavily in its roster, particularly on the defensive side, Flacco's performance stood out as the weak link. He has now accumulated 815 passing yards across 4 games, with only 2 touchdowns and a staggering 6 interceptions. According to ESPN's advanced metrics, his QBR of 27.6 ranks dead last among qualified quarterbacks. Those numbers alone would be troubling, but paired with his lack of mobility and declining arm strength, they have painted the picture of a player running out of answers. Grossi calls for change. Tony Grossi did not mince words in his post-game analysis. He argued that the Browns desperately need new energy at quarterback, pointing to Jaxson Dart's recent debut with the New York Giants as a prime example. What Dart brought wasn't just numbers, it was life, Grossi noted. Sometimes a team just needs a spark, someone who can inject energy and make the locker room believe again. Dart's performance against the then-undefeated Los Angeles Chargers was not statistically overwhelming. He finished 13 of 20 for 111 yards and added a rushing touchdown, but it symbolized hope. The Giants rallied around the rookie, pulling off a 21-18 upset win. For Grossi, the lesson was clear: when a veteran looks overwhelmed, sometimes the risk of youth is worth it. Ledger Douzable adds fuel to the fire. Grossi wasn't the only voice questioning Flacco's future in Cleveland. Former New York Giants defensive end Ledger Douzable, a member of Flacco's 2008 draft class, echoed the sentiment with even sharper criticism. He highlighted one of Flacco's interceptions, where Lions safety Kirby Joseph seemed to track the ball like a return specialist. That pick looked almost like a punt return, Douzable said, underscoring the severity of Flacco's misjudgment. Douzable believes that it's time for the Browns to see what their young quarterbacks can do. Specifically, he mentioned rookies Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders as players who could bring mobility, creativity, and unpredictability to an offense that has grown stale. At some point, you have to ask what you're holding on to, Douzable argued. The defense is giving you chances. You need a quarterback who can capitalize. Stefanski's dilemma. For Kevin Stefanski, the pressure is mounting. The Browns sit at a crossroads just 4 weeks into the season. With a strong defense anchored by Myles Garrett and a talented group of skill players, Cleveland's window to compete is open. But with Flacco under center, the offense has sputtered, often failing to complement the defensive effort. The upcoming matchup against the Minnesota Vikings looms large. Minnesota has shown flashes of offensive firepower, and Stefanski knows that another sluggish performance could sink the Browns' momentum before midseason. The decision is not an easy one. Benching a Super Bowl winning veteran in favor of unproven rookies carries risks, but the growing chorus of critics makes it difficult to ignore. A history of quarterback turbulence. The Browns are no strangers to quarterback controversies. Since returning to the league in 1999, Cleveland has cycled through more than 30 starting quarterbacks, from first-round picks to journeyman veterans. Flacco's struggles are only the latest chapter in a long saga of instability at the game's most important position. Fans have seen false dawns before, and the frustration in Northeast Ohio is palpable. Grossi's remarks, therefore, struck a deeper chord. They were not just about Flacco's poor play, they were about the broader narrative of a team that has often been held back by quarterback woes. For many, the idea of handing the keys to a rookie is less about chasing immediate results and more about investing in the future. What rookies bring to the table. Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders may not be household names yet, but their potential intrigues analysts. Gabriel, known for his quick release and composure, could provide a steady presence in short passing schemes. Sanders, meanwhile, carries the name recognition of being Deion Sanders' son, but more importantly, he has shown flashes of dual-threat ability and leadership. Both quarterbacks represent the unknown, and sometimes the unknown is more appealing than continued mediocrity. The bottom line. Cleveland's quarterback situation is rapidly approaching a breaking point. Joe Flacco, once a steady veteran presence, now appears overwhelmed and out of sync. Analysts like Tony Grossi and Ledger Douzable are pushing for change, urging Stefanski to consider the bold move of turning to rookies. The example of Jaxson Dart in New York looms large, serving as proof that a youthful spark can galvanize an entire team. As the Browns prepare for their clash with the Vikings, the decisions made in the coming days could shape not only their 2024 season but also the trajectory of the franchise moving forward. The question is no longer whether Flacco can rediscover his past form, it's whether Cleveland is willing to risk the future on the possibility that a fresh face can bring new hope. For now, one thing is clear: Joe Flacco looks defeated, and the Browns must decide if they're ready to turn the page.